Welcome to the Gus Alva Perspective, a videocast that elevates the concept of abundance and gratitude and really tries to veer away from the opposite side of the street, which is scarcity and fear. Now, the topic that I want to touch on today is a really important one. It's a poignant issue because it affects all of us. Have you ever thought of why it is that we fight with the people that we care for? It's really interesting because in life, those people who are closest to us are oftentimes the recipients of frustration that we face. Fights and conflicts are a natural part of any relationship, so it's important to ponder on what contributes to this phenomenon that we sometimes take out our frustrations on the people that we care for and love. You know, being a board certified psychiatrist, I oftentimes get an opportunity of taking a look at the dynamics associated between patients that walk in with different types of travails, difficulties, troubles, uh, you know, problems, conflicts, and oftentimes it's really important to take a look at the dynamics that that individual is engaging in. So let's take a look at some very important themes that tie into this very issue. First thing is that people have very different communication styles. Sometimes people have certain preferences or ways of expressing themselves that may actually lead towards specific problems. Let me give you an example. Misunderstandings can escalate into arguments. And if, as stated in previous videocasts, there's a lack of clear communication, then we need to be cognizant, aware of the fact that, miscommunication or communication differences might actually be evocative of problems within relationships. Now, sometimes conflicts arise due to unmet expectations or disappointments. And when we expect from a loved one or someone that we care for isn't fulfilled, it can lead to frustration and conflict. However, if we don't really have a solid understanding of what we're expecting of someone else, then it's impossible to ask someone, again, for forgiveness or to be contrite over something that they might not necessarily be aware that they have actually done. We should be aware of expectations and disappointments that we might harbor. And in so doing, have the opportunity to figure things out in, again, as gentle a manner as possible. Now, remember, external stressors affect all of us. Let me give you an example: work pressure, financial issues, health problems. All of these things can affect our mood and patience. In fact, these are the things that we call stressors that oftentimes are the big trigger for many of the people that end up seeking out my help. This stress can spill over into our relationships, which causes conflict. We should thus be aware of stress and external factors that affect us and not necessarily allow that to subsequently be bottled up and then, boom, bubble up onto the very people that we care for. Now, remember that individuals have unique personalities. They also have unique beliefs and values. And these differences can lead to disagreements or clashes of opinion. Even among the closest of family members, we oftentimes see this. We should therefore consider personal differences in opinions and make sure that we're not necessarily stepping out of bounds from where we should be. Now, love and strong emotional bonds can sometimes result in heightened emotions. We sometimes feel at liberty to go beyond where we would normally go if it's somebody that we have great trust in or love, right? And remember that when emotions run high, disagreements can escalate into fights before rational thinking can prevail. We should thus keep a check on our emotional intensity. It's good to be intense, but certainly bad in certain settings. Also, past unresolved issues or resentments sometimes linger. And the problem is that when they linger, they can resurface during disagreements. This unfortunately causes more intense conflicts than the current situation warrants. Therefore, assuring that past baggage and resentments aren't used as weapons is an immensely important tenet to keep in mind. Relationships can sometimes involve struggles for power or control. This is one of the more common themes that I oftentimes see. Conflicts might arise when one or both parties seek dominance or resist being controlled. Uh, Reason by which keeping in mind control issues or power struggles as we interact with loved ones or those that we care for is really important. And don't forget that in close relationships, the lack of personal boundaries or sufficient personal space might lead to a feeling of suffocation or frustration. This triggers conflicts. Therefore, if we lack appropriate boundaries or space, this is certainly an easy leeway of evoking problems. Now, another big thing that I oftentimes see is that life events like the birth of a child, a relocation, a job change might alter relationship dynamics. And where previously one individual within a couple was maybe the main breadwinner, now that actually shifts and creates specific changes to that dynamic. And adjusting to these changes might cause tension and disagreement. Thus, being cognizant of changes in dynamics is certainly useful. Now, some conflicts stem from deeper emotional issues, whether those be insecurities, jealousy, or unresolved trauma. This is probably one of the heaviest areas that I oftentimes see. Those individuals that have experienced early life adversity are oftentimes more prone towards having neuropsychiatric problems. These underlying issues might manifest as fights in a relationship. We should therefore be mindful of unresolved emotional issues at play and seek out professional help when that help is warranted. So, in essence, it's important to manage conflicts in a constructive fashion through constructive ways. Some of these might include improving communication through an understanding of each other's communication styles, as well as preferences, and practicing active listening to avoid misinterpretations. Setting clear expectations when faced with conflict to reduce disappointments and misunderstandings. Finding healthy ways to manage stress and external pressures, whether that be through exercise, meditation, or seeking professional help to be able to better manage stress. Now, when we practice empathy and we compromise and have an understanding to bridge differences and find common grounds, these are all effective ways of understanding one another. Working on resolving past issues and resentments through open and honest communication or seeking professional help is one of the things that I oftentimes encourage individuals to do. This actually helps resolve problems effectively. And by remembering that conflict is a natural part of relationships, and it's crucial that we keep our mindset of abundance and gratitude and figure out that we need to handle and resolve conflicts in a healthy, loving manner with those individuals that matter most to us. Again, loving connections are essentially part of what our abundance and gratitude mindset are all about. With that said, I sincerely thank you for joining us on the Gus Alba Perspective on this point of why is it that we sometimes vent or act out in a an uncourteous or uncharitable manner with those people that we care for most. Thank you for joining us.